Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Pashatadeshatarane. So the 14th chapter is titled The Disappearance of Krishna, and so far in the 14th chapter we have seen the reflections of Maharaj Yudhishthir pertaining to so he has a sense of some kind of inauspiciousness. Earlier on he has been relating the personal signs of inauspiciousness that he has seen: the twitching of the left eye, the trembling of the left side of the body. He has expressed his concern that Arjun had been gone for 7 months and still has not returned. So in the same mood, he continues his conversation with Bhima, his younger brother. So we will start from the 12th verse. Shivaya Shadayantam Adityam Abhirotya Nalanana Amangasharamayoyam Abhirevatya Abhiruvat. Just see, O Bhim, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me previously. Barks at me fearlessly. Sorry. So in the previous set of verses, Maharaj Yudhishthir, he was sharing the inauspicious symptoms that he was observing in his own body. And now he is sharing inauspicious symptoms that he is seeing outside. One reason is factually, that's what is happening. Second reason also is to validate. So what is happening in my own body, only I know. And it could be my speculation, it could be my misreading. But when Yudhishthira is saying that what are the things that are going around him, they are there for Bhima to observe himself. So when what Yudhishthira says is happening, Bhima observes, so he also understands that these are the inauspicious things that are happening. So what does Yudhishthira say in this verse? He said there's a jackal that was vomiting fire, the she-jackal vomiting fire. So one way to understand that is that the word anal, which is anal is translated to fire, can also be translated to like the fire, specifically like the fire of devastation. And the reference to this is 6.823 Bhagavatam. So what this would imply that the howling of the jackal was like the fire of devastation. So the analogy over here is in terms of effect, not cause. So it's not that the jackal is howling and the fires are emitting from the mouth of the jackal, but the effect of the howling of the jackal is foreboding destruction there. Now, one thing we'll also see is that Maharaj Yudhishthira will describe supernatural occurrences, and sometimes acharyas explain it like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this verse, but that does not mean to say that they're all metaphors. But there were some of the disturbances that may sound wondrous, but they were factually occurring. Okay, next verse. So like I said, in these verses, most of the verses Prabhupada doesn't have a purport, so they are short discussion verses. Shashata kurvanti mam savyam dakshina pashavo pare vam sacha purusha vyagraha lokashe rudato mama. O Bhimsen, tiger amongst men, now useful animals like cows are passing me on my left side, and lower animals like asses are circumambulating me. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me. So earlier on, we had seen how Maharaj Yudhishthir had considered the left side of his body to be inauspicious, and here he's extending that, saying that useful animals are passing me from my inauspicious side, which is again a sign of something untoward is going to happen. And animals are generally considered to be more sensitive to the elements of nature, since they live much closer to nature. And unlike human beings, they do not have artificial intelligence. So many times the humans, they're not able to read nature because they have lost their touch with what is natural. But animals have not. So this is empirically also observed during natural disasters. Animals, they sense it sooner. Especially people living on shore, they look upon their animals for as advance a notification that maybe a storm is coming or maybe a tsunami is coming. So the animals that are more sensitized, Yudhishthir says, are already reacting to it. Okay, next verse. Mrityuduta kapato yama uluka kampayan manaha pratyalukas chapuhuvnane vishvam vaishunyamachataha. Just see, this pigeon is like a messenger of death. The shrieks of the owl and the rival crows makes my heart tremble. It appears they want to make a void of the whole universe. So Yudhishthir says Uluka Pratyuluka. So Uluka is owl. The literal translation of Pratyuluka is the rivals of owl. So Srila Prabhupada translated as crows because crows are natural rivals of owls. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the owls and the rival factions, so two factions of owls, that are inimical to one another, but more of a academic point. But the main point that Yudhishthir is making, that it is the shrieks of the owls and the rivals, and it is the flight of the pigeon, like a messenger of death. So pigeons are generally considered to be messengers of hope. When there are some ceremonies that happen that are like inaugurating ceremonies, then pigeons are let go of, and people give grains to pigeons just because they are gentle creatures. They considered to be messengers of good fortune. But here it is opposite. So the pigeons are Mrityu Duta. They're acting like the messengers of death. So all these things that are happening opposite, it looks like they are trying to shunyam, that they're trying to vishvam vaishunyam. They're trying to empty this entire world. Next verse, 15. Dhumradisha paridhyaya kampate bhu sahadribihi nigratascha mahamstata Sakham cha stanyatu san sakham ta sanyatun bihi. Just see how the smoke encircles the sky. It appears that the earth and mountains are throbbing. Just hear the cloudless thunder and see the bowls from blue. So a cloudless thunder is something that is against nature, because thunder appears when there are clouds. And similarly, the lightning bolts also appear when the sky is overcast. It's because of the effect of the cloud that there is thunder and lightning. But Yudhishthira is seeing both of them, even though there are no clouds in the sky. And the haze that he is seeing is just like, he says, just like smoke that is encircling the sky. Tumra. It's either Prabhupada translates it as smoke, it could be fog or mist, but the environment is polluted. So when I was reading these verses, one of the things that I was noticing was that most of these things are not shocking to us because we are used to it. There's so much pollution that we are used to the sky being covered with haze, and we are used to unnatural clouds and lightning. But for Maharaj Yudhishthir, he was not at all used to all this, and that is why he will later on say that he's completely shocked. Okay, next verse 16. Vayurvati kharasparsho rajasa vishrajamastamaha ashragvarsanti jalada vivatsam iva sarvataha. The wind blows violently, blasting dust everywhere and creating darkness. Clouds are raining everywhere with bloody disasters. So Yudhishthir is saying that the environment is filled with, he says, Rajasa Tamaha, that there is dust that is everywhere in the air and there is darkness. So one can also understand that he's talking about the modes of material nature, that under the influence of this current age, the lower gunas of Rajas and Tama are becoming prominent and pervasive. The clouds raining with bloody disasters is qualified with Iva. So Iva means as if. So which translates to the meaning that the clouds are raining as if they're spraying blood. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation. Jiva Goswami makes a slightly different point. He says that the Iva should be considered to be ornamental, which means that so if there is a word that is ornamental, then it does not add any meaning to the sentence, but it is put over there for embellishment, sometimes to balance a shloka, sometimes because it just sounds well, but they are like placeholders for but not relevant to the meaning. So Jiva Goswami says that Iva is ornamental. So when Yudhishthir says that clouds are raining with bloody disaster, one should take that literally, that the rains of the cloud are causing bloody disasters. So this description is very close to the description of hurricanes and whirlwinds. So there is winds that are blowing, and the winds are catching up the dust and blinding everybody because of the dust that is in the sky. The sun is covered, tama, that there is darkness everywhere, and the rain is so violent that it is uh, it is creating all kinds of disasters. 17. Suryamata prabham pasya grahamardam mithodvi sa shunkaler bhutaganer jvalite eva rodasi. The rays of the sun are declining and the stars appear to be fighting amongst one another. Confused living entities appear to be ablaze and weeping. So astrologically, when the sun is very close to the other planets in the sky, it means that the setting of the constellation is inauspicious. So Yudhishthir is observing that the stars appear to be fighting amongst one another, means that they are crowded together and they are jostling around the sun, which as per astrology is considered to be a bad omen. Then and then he says Bhutagana. So Bhutagana is that the living entities appear to be ablaze and weeping. Bhutagana is also translated as, so one of the names of Lord Shiva is Bhuta. So Bhutagana is followers of Lord Shiva, and Sa is translated as even you. So the third line of the verse, Sa Shankuler Bhutaganer, is translated as you and the others are with the followers of Lord Shiva. So this is Maharaj Yudhishthir talking to his brother Bhim, that I see you and the others along with the followers of Lord Shiva. So the Bhutganas are a kind of followers that are considered to be agents of destruction. So when Lord Shiva was upset at Daksha when Sati Devi, his wife, was insulted, then he sends the Bhutgana, and they completely desecrate and destroy the sacrifice. So Yudhishthir here is saying that I'm seeing you and the others, and he's including himself, that I'm seeing all of us are basically within this whole process of destruction that seems to have begun. Okay, next verse, 18. Natyo nadas chakshubhita saramsi cha manamsi cha na jwalatyagni rajyena kaloyam kimavidhasyati. Rivers, tributaries, ponds, reservoirs, and the mind are all perturbed. Butter no longer ignites fire. What is this extraordinary time? What is going to happen? So what are the other omens that he is seeing? He says that Nadya Nada Shubhita, that all these saramshi, all these reservoirs of water are perturbed. So Nadya is rivers and Nada is tributaries. So they're generally Nadya Nada is translated as male and female rivers, because the tributaries, they end up merging with the river. So the Nadas, they merge with the Nadya. So the Nadya is considered to be the male and the Nada is considered to be female. And then the rivers, they merge into the Saramshi. Sara means where everybody, Amshi means becomes a part. So where everybody becomes a part. So So Yudhishthira is using this to describe that wherever there is water, in the tributaries that merge into the rivers that merge into the larger reservoirs of water, there is disturbance everywhere. Then he says that the butter no longer ignites fire. So the natural property of butter is that when it is put into fire, then it lights the fire up, but it is no longer lighting. So then he wonders that what is this extraordinary time? He says, Kalayam Kim. What is this time? He's wondering. Vidhashyati. What is going to happen? So this extraordinary time is the age of Kali. And Yudhishthir is witnessing the earlier symptoms of the age of Kali that he himself does not have experience with. So that is why he is talking in wonderment over here, saying that Kala Ayam Kim, that what kind of time it is this, that Adhyasati, what is going to happen. All these things are indicating that there is something inauspicious. But he still does not understand what is the nature of the inauspiciousness that is going to manifest. Okay. Next verse, 114:19. Na pibanti stanam vatsa na duyanti cha matraha rudantya shrumkhagavo na harshyanti rishabhavraje. The calves do not suck the teats of the cows, nor do the cows give milk. They are standing, crying, tears in their eyes, and the bulls take no pleasure in the pasturing ground. So every living entity, and even non-living entity, they have a certain intrinsic quality, which is their dharma. And what Yudhishthira is pointing to symptomatically is that everything seems to be giving up their dharma. So the dharma of the cow is to give milk. The dharma of a calf is to drink milk. The dharma of a bull is to take pleasure in plowing the ground. But all that is not happening. So similarly, in this age of Kali, the jivas are going to give up their dharma. The dharma of the jiva is to serve Krishna. And that is the quality of the age of Kali, that the objects give up their intrinsic quality. So the dharma of Mother Earth is to provide grains for us, provide food and nourishment for us. But in the age of Kali, Mother Earth withholds it. So that's why we need to put so much of shram to extract it from her. The dharma of nature is to nurture us. But in the age of Kali, we go to such great lengths to protect ourselves from nature, because nature has become inimical. If we live with nature, we would, or most of us, some probably still do, most of us would not survive, because nature itself has become inimical to us. So this is the essence of what Yudhishthira is observing and sharing with Bhima, that whether it is the forces of nature, whether it is the other living entities, they all seem to have given up their intrinsic dharma. Okay, verse 20. Devitani rudanti va siddhyante haya uchalanti cha ime janpada gramaha purudyan akarshamaha. Rashtriyo Nirananda Kimmagam Darshayantina. The deities seem to be crying in the temple, lamenting and perspiring. They seem about to leave. All the cities, villages, towns, gardens, mines, and heritages are now devoid of beauty and bereft of all happiness. I do not know what sort of calamities are awaiting us. So this is a summary verse where Yudhishthir summarizes all that he has said in the past. That everything that he's seeing around him, cities, villages, towns, gardens, mines, hermitages, they all, which are naturally replete with beauty, are now devoid of beauty. All these are naturally sources of happiness, but now they are sources of distress. So the deities seem to be crying, lamenting, and perspiring. And of course, we can understand that this is our perception of the deities. The deities are transcendental, but we are looking upon the deities in the mood that is evoking that response from the deities, that they're lamenting and perspiring and wanting to leave. So just like Krishna reciprocates with our mood, the deities are an extension of Krishna. So later on we'll read how Prabhupada in the purport will say that when Krishna came, then even the deities, they entered into his body, because they are all his expansions. They're non-different for him. So it's not possible for the deities to be lamenting, but when our devotion is weak, then we see deities as stone. And when our devotion is negated, in the sense that we have aversion, then we see the same deities as hateful. I know in India there are people who will go to ISKCON temple and they come out unhappy that these people are spending so much time and decorating stone when there are people who don't have proper clothes. So they're unable to see the deities. So it's one of the things that is very difficult for us to perceive, because when we go and see the deities, we think that they should be even more opulently dressed. They should be even more gorgeously dressed, because we see the happiness that is radiating from the deities. But when those who are inimical, they see the opposite. They see the deities angry and perspiring and lamenting, and that's why they themselves get that sense of animosity. So this is the conclusion of the description of the omens by Maharaj Yudhishthir, and now he will proceed to summarize it in verse 21. Manyeter mahatpater nunam bhagvata padaha ananya purusha shribir inabhurhata saubhaga. I think that all these earthly disturbances indicate some greater loss to the good fortune of the world. The world was fortunate to have been marked with the footprints of the lotus feet of the Lord. These signs indicate that this will no longer be. So here Maharaj Yudhishthir is summarizing his observation of the ill omens that he was observing. So one point to note here is that both the appearance and the disappearance of Krishna are transcendental. So neither the appearance can be foreboding ill omens, and nor can his disappearance. So if you remember, when Krishna appeared, then many ill omens appeared to Kamsa. That's not because Krishna's appearance there is anything inauspicious in Krishna's appearance. So when Krishna appeared and Kamsa began to, so in Mahabharata, if you read, very similar to what Maharaj Yudhishthir was recording, Kamsa also records the same kinds of observations. The dogs are barking furiously at me. The left side of my body is twitching. When I look at the mirror, I see a headless corpse over there. Same realization he happens later on also on the day before the battle or the war. Not even the war. What was it? The wrestling match. He also has the same kind of realization when Krishna enters Mathura. So both Krishna's appearance and disappearance, they cannot be a cause of anything inauspicious. But the point that is being made over here is the circumstances that have now manifested are inauspicious. One of the impact of the circumstances is that Krishna has left, or considering it otherwise, that now that Krishna has left, this time, this age of Kali has now manifested. So the omens so the Kali Yuga began to appear the very moment Krishna left the planet, which was some times ago. When Shringi, he cursed Parikshit Maharaj, then the age of Kali was almost there. And when Maharaj Parikshit left his body, the age of Kali came in its full force. So Srila Prabhupada comments on Kali's arrival in the purport of a verse that we'll do later on. It appears in the 15th chapter. So I just wanted to share it here because it's relevant. So Prabhupada in the purport writes, the age of Kali ensued just after the battle of Kurukshetra, but it could not exert its influence because of the presence of the Lord. The Lord, however, left his earthly planet in his own transcendental body, and as soon as he left, the symptoms of Kali Yuga, as were envisioned by Maharaj Yudhishthir, prior to Arjun's arrival from Dwarka, began to manifest. And Maharaj Yudhishthir rightly conjectured on the departure of the Lord from the earth. And in the purport of 114.3, this is a verse that we've done at the beginning of this chapter. Srila Prabhupada writes, ignorance is the cause for all these anomalies in the human society. To remove this ignorance, especially in this age of degradation, the powerful sun is here to distribute light in the shape of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the point that is made is that just because we are living in a degraded age does not mean that we become victims of it. Because even though the age of Kali comes by the desire of Krishna, he also desires a redemption. And that's why the Bhagavatam also appears with the desire of Krishna. 114.22. So we'll do this, and then after that we'll pause for any comments or discussion. Iti chintayatastasya drishtaristena chetasa rajna pratyagmad brahman yadupurya kapidvaja. O Brahman Shaunak, while Maharaj Yudhishthir, observing the inauspicious signs on the earth at that time, was thus thinking to himself, Arjun came back from the city of the Yadus, Dwarka. So Arjun is referred here as Kapidvaja. So Kapidvaja is one who bears Lord Hanuman on the flag of his chariot. So this is the same reference made to Arjun in Bhagavad Gita in the first chapter, 20 verse 20th. So the next section of the chapter is Yudhishthir observing inauspicious signs within Arjun. So before we cover this, we'll take a pause and see if there's any discussion.
One point, just a comment, Prabhuji. Uh, this is just my observation. Long before, actually, I was even meet devotees or aware of ISKCON. Like my father took me to one of the ISKCON temple. So at that time, like I couldn't have any connect. Like of course, there is no hatred like that, but I didn't feel anything. But now it is different by devotees' mercy. So
Right, and that's an interesting point because I think we all observe that sometimes when we go to, in India, it's mostly, most of the time the devotees go to the temple, but in India, sometimes when we go to the temple with some family member who may not be that favorable, and then you see the big difference. You know, the person is trying to appreciate the deity but is not able to appreciate the deity, and they'll give a perfunctory, they'll fold their hands or do something, but you can see that they're not able to develop a relationship with the deities. And when devotees go, they like to stand in front of the deities, examine the deities in details, look at their alankar, maybe say some prayers to them. So that's happening because at least in the devotee's mind, the deities are there. They're reciprocating. So thank you for sharing that. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just to add on that, when we look at the deity, we see them, as you said, their mood, they're smiling more today compared to the previous day, thing like that.
Yeah, and I noticed that some devotees more so than others. Some devotees will look at deities and say, "Oh, they're wearing this combination of a green necklace and a yellow dress. They wore it last Sunday," and you know, so they have really this rasa going on with the deities. It's really sweet and inspiring to see it. Okay.
sometimes it is even appreciable when I see the decoration of the deities. Like the appreciation for devotees increases. Like how much love they carry for the deities. That's so they're looking so beautiful.
Yeah, especially the pujaris who take hours and hours to decorate the deities. Okay, next verse, 23. Tam padyo nipatitam ayatha purvam aturam adho vadanam abindon srajantam nayanab abjayaha. When he bore at his feet, the king saw that his dejection was unprecedented. His head was down, and tears glided from his lotus eyes. So Yudhishthir was talking to Bhim. He was seeing all these inauspicious things happening around him, within his body, observing it in nature, in animals. At that time, Arjun comes, and Arjun, being the younger brother, first gives obeisances to his oldest brother, and then after that he would have given obeisances to Bhim. So when Arjun is giving obeisances to Maharaj Yudhishthir, he sees the dejection in Aturam. So Aturam is an active state of dejection. It's not a passive stage of uh, uh, dejection. So Atur it also translates as anxious. So uh, in some cases, dejection results in passivity, that the person is just beaten up and he's just sitting there without any hope. Arjun is not in that stage. He's atur. Atur in a different context also means eager, but in this context it means anxious. That he sees this anxiety on his face in Adha Vadanam. That because of because of the weight that he's experiencing, his face is downward. So this is the natural reaction to people who are facing a lot of anxiety. They tend to cut the world out and focus inwards, and it manifests as adha vadanam, as a downward face. And avata purvam. So no, I'm sorry, ayatha purvam. So yatha means, yatha means as is. Ayatha means never before. Ayatha purva means never before seen. So Arjun and Yudhishthir were very close to one another, and Yudhishthir had a very strong, loving relationship with Arjun. So he had never seen this kind of aturam, this kind of anxiety on the face of Arjun. And apabindum. So bindum means like a dot. Apa means that almost. So the literal translation is that small drops of tears were almost forming nayana abjaya. They were almost forming. Srajantam means that in the process of, so Srajantam means creating, from that they're appearing from somewhere. They were not there before, but they're appearing. So small drops of tears are appearing from nayana abhajaya. So Sutta describes the eyes of Arjun as lotus-like eyes. So generally this term is reserved for Krishna, but Arjun was also considered to be as handsome and beautiful as Krishna. So it's not inappropriate to describe his eyes as lotus-like. And Arjun is a Kshatriya, he's a great warrior. So it does not behoove him to cry. So the fact that this anxiety is naturally forcing tears, but his Kshatriya valor is forcing him to control. But the force of anxiety is so strong that it is overwhelming his control. So that is why, because of the control, the tears are not fully appearing. So apabindum srijantam, that they are appearing as if like there are small drops of water. 114:24. Vilakyadvigna hridayo vichayam manujam nripaha vishattisma suhun madhye samsmarannaradeeritam. Seeing Arjun pale due to heartfelt anxieties, the king, remembering the indications of the sage Narad, questioned him in the midst of the friends. Midst of friends. So if you remember that in verse 8, Maharaj Yudhishthir, so when in the 50th verse of the previous chapter, 113:50, Narad Muni had indicated to Maharaj Yudhishthir that Krishna has bound up his pastimes. You Pandavas may stay as long as is needed. So the clear indication was either Krishna has left or he is leaving. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was intelligent enough to understand that if Narad Muni is saying that, Krishna has already left. At the beginning of this chapter, in verse 8, Maharaj Yudhishthira had openly wondered that if the indications by Narad Muni about the disappearance of Krishna was true. So with the same sentiment, he is now going to be questioning Arjun. And much like the conversation between Vidur and Dhritarashtra, this conversation will also happen in the open. So it's not just that there's Yudhishthir, Bhim and Arjun, but but it is clearly said over here that this conversation happens Suhurt Madhya. Suhurt Madhya, Suhurt is well-wishers or friends, that amongst in the middle of the well-wishers. Another point that we will note is that Maharaj Yudhishthir has already concluded, more or less, that Krishna has departed. But in all the questions that he will ask Arjun, he will not ask this question. In fact, he will ask everything but this question until the very last verse of the chapter, when he really does not ask it as a question. He will place it as a statement. So why does Maharaj Yudhishthira go this route? That he understands that something has happened, but he will ask about other things. And there are two reasons for this. One is human nature. The human nature is to put aside bad news as far as possible. And if we live in houses, if something is going to break, we always wait for it to break and then we fix it, even though we know it's going to break. And the reason is this, that it's not in a nature to accept calamities. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is manifesting that human nature, that he is trying to postpone the inevitable to as much as possible. Second explanation is that he is also using this as a preaching tool. So because the Bhagavatam is preaching, one may wonder that why did Sukadev Goswami speak all this? Why is Sudha Goswami speaking all this? Because they seem to be tangentially related. Everything is put in the Bhagavatam for a reason. And the reason is that we will see in this verse that every question that Maharaj Yudhishthira asks Arjun also has an instruction in it. So then it is also an opportunity for him to preach for us, and that's why we see that he will ask these questions. So there is no disingenuity on his part. He's not trying to trick Arjun or cheat Arjun, or he has not become foolish, but he's doing it, one, because of natural propensity, and also because of his desire to preach. Okay, next verse. (25) Yudhishthruvacha kachidantha puryam naha swajana sukhamasate madhubhoj dasharhara satvat andakavarshnayaha. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, "My dear brother, please tell me whether our friends and relatives such as Madhu, Bhoj, Dashar, Araha, Satvat, Andak, and the members of the Yadu family are all passing their days in happiness." So in 14 verses, from 25 to 38, Maharaj Yudhishthira will inquire about the welfare of the chief residents of Dwarka. So even though we generally consider Dwarka Vashis to be Yaduvamshis, but technically they are not all Yaduvamshis. So there were many clans who were all descendants of Maharaj Maharaj Yadu, the son of Yayati. So the Yadavas are direct descendants of Maharaj Yadu, and the other clans are branches that were formed from this primary clan. So if you read Harivamsa Puran, then all these branches are described. That typically these branches are formed when there's a particularly powerful king that's basically separates from the existing kingdom, establishes his own kingdom, and then his lineage starts. Like there is a King Bhoj who started the Bhoj dynasty. There is King Andhak who started the Andhaka dynasty. So they were separate in a way. They were branches, but they were the same because the trunk was the same. And he separately calls out, and the members of the Yadu family, because the Yadu Vamshis are dear to him. Why? Because Krishna appeared himself in the Yadu clan. So he's separately um, calling out as members of the Yadu Kul. Just as a point of trivia, Kamsa belonged to the Bhoja clan. So one of the clans that is mentioned over is Bhoj. Kamsa belonged. Maharaj Ugrasen and Kamsa, they belong to the Bhoja dynasty. Next verse, 26. Shuramata mahakachit swastyaste vatamarishaha matula sanuja kachit kushalya anakadundubihi. Is my respectful grandfather Shurasen in a happy mood, and my maternal uncle Vasudev and his younger brothers all doing well. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is now going to inquire about the prominent members of the residents of Dwarka. Srila Prabhupada mentions that he cannot inquire about everybody because there were literally millions of residents in Dwarka. So he will only call out the prominent people and he will inquire about their welfare. So it is also etiquette to first inquire about the elderly. So he starts off by asking about, he says, is my respectable grandfather, Matama. So Matama means the father of my mother, his maternal grandfather. Shurasen. So Shurasen is the father of Vasudev and Kunti Devi. So Kunti Devi was later adopted by Kunti Bhoj. That's how she got the name Kunti. But she's actually as you all know well, she's the sister of Vasudev. So Shurasen had 9 other sons and 3 other daughters. Vasudev over here, Vasudev is again, we know, the father of Krishna, and he's the uncle of Yudhishthir because Vasudev is the brother of the mother of Yudhishthir. So he addresses Vasudev as Anakudundubi. So Vasudev got the name Anakudundubi because when he was born, then there were celestial drums, Dundubi. So there were celestial drums that were sounded in the sky. And so it was to herald the appearance of an auspicious personality. So that's how he got the name Anakudundubi. Okay, next verse, 27. Saptaswasaras tatpatnya matulanya sahatmajaha asate shashnu sakshemam devaki pramukha swayam. His 7 wives, headed by Devaki, are all sisters. Are they and their sons and daughters-in-law all happy? So here Yudhishthir mentions 7 wives of Vasudev, but Vasudev actually had 18 wives. So the lineage of Vasudev is described a little bit more in the 10th canto, chapter 84, where it is described that he has 18 wives, But out of these 18 wives, 7 of them are sisters. And they're all daughters of King Devak. So one can understand that what Maharaj Yudhishthira is talking about over here are the 7 wives who are sisters. And he's talking more about Devaki because of his close relationship with Krishna. So because of his relationship with Krishna, he has a close relationship with Devaki. And because of his close relationship with Devaki, he is considering Devaki and her sisters. So that is why he is talking about his 7 wives. So he says headed by Devaki. So factually speaking, the eldest wife of Vasudeva is Rohini Devi. And Devaki is considered to be amongst the youngest wife. So, but he still says headed by Devaki. So Devaki was always considered to be the head of the wives of Maharaj Yudhishthira because of her special position, because she was the mother of the personality of Godhead, and she was very close to Vasudeva. So that is why Yudhishthira is also factually calling out that the 7 wives headed by Devaki are all sisters. So Devaki is she is not the oldest of all these sisters also. Dhritadeva is the oldest of the 7 sisters. It's not clear if Devaki is the youngest, but she's definitely not the oldest of the sisters, and definitely not the oldest of the wives. But again, the word headed by is used for a preeminent position. And then he says, are they and their sons and daughter-in-law all happy? So in addition to Krishna and Balram, Vasudeva had more children. So Subhadra, of course, is famous, but then there are other children also that were born by Vasudeva from his other 17 wives. So Yudhishthira is inquiring about their welfare. So one of the reasons that these verses are put over here is because by us, and Srila Prabhupada does that, I won't do that just to save time. Srila Prabhupada also, he talks a little bit about the biography of these personalities. So for one, I think all of you are aware of it, and secondly, it's there in the purport. You know, if you haven't read it, read it. But that's the real reason that Maharaj Yudhishthira is calling out these names. That when he calls out Anagdundubi, then we think about the greatness of Vasudeva. We think about how he is the follower of Dharma. How in his previous life he was Suta, the husband of Prishni, and later on he became Kashyap, the husband of Aditi. So as we think about all this, our consciousness gets purified and elevated. So that is why Maharaj Yudhishthira is placing these great personalities in his questions in order to purify and elevate our consciousness. And at another level, he is also showing etiquette, that it is proper etiquette to inquire about the welfare of others. And we see that conventionally also. When we meet somebody after some time, we'll ask him, how are your parents, how are your mother, how is the friend, especially if they're common acquaintances. It is just good etiquette. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is also demonstrating that. Okay, next verse. 28, 29. Sorry. Kachit rajahuko jivatya asatputrasya chanujaha hridika sasito kuro jayantagadda sharanaha asate kushalam kachit ye cha satrujitadayaha kachit aste sukham ramo bhagwan satvatam prabhu. Our Ugrasen, whose son was the mischievous Kamsa, and his younger brother, still living. Are Hridika and his son Kritavarma happy? Are Akrura, Jayant, Gada, Sharan, and Shatrujit all happy? How is Balram, the personality of Godhead and the protector of devotees? So Yudhishthir inquires about King Ugrasen, who actually is the king of Dwarka, and he qualifies him as the father of Asatputra. So Sat refers to both. So Sat, literal translation is eternal, but in uh, in the context it is translated either to Krishna or to the jivas. And Asat is a negation, so its translation contextually is one who causes disturbances to other living entities. So Sat is living entities, Asat is one who is causing disturbances to other living entities. And in the context of Sat being Krishna, it translates to one who is averse to Krishna. So both the meanings, they apply to Kamsa. So Jiva Goswami opines that Yudhishthir is using this qualification, Asat, to indicate that Ugrasen was very much disturbed and ashamed by a son like Kamsa and would have desired to give up his body. So Yudhishthir is inquiring that, is he still living? Because Yudhishthir is not, he is not identifying Ugrasen with the qualities of Kamsa, but still he's mentioning them together. So one of the understanding that is given by Jiva Goswami is that Yudhishthir is saying that the pious king Ugrasen had this rascal of a son, Kamsa, who caused him so many trepidation, so much embarrassment, that he would have liked to give up his body. But let me know, tell me, if he is still living. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he considers this to be an independent phrase, and so he translates it as asking, is Kamsa still alive? Is Ugrasen still alive? Is Kamsa still alive? So Kamsa, of course, had been killed by Krishna many years ago, and Yudhishthira was very much aware of it. So the understanding is the inquiry is for Kamsa's soul. So are the rites and rituals still being performed for pacifying the sinful soul of Kamsa? So this is Yudhishthira's way of asking that are the Vedic processes still going on? That Kamsa was a sinful person. Undoubtedly, his soul is facing a lot of trials and tribulation in the hellish planets. But are there Vedic rituals still being done to keep Kamsa alive, in the sense that to keep his soul pacified? Yudhishthir also mentions 4 other sons of Vasudeva. So he says Jayanta, Gada, Sharan, and Shatrujit. So Sharan and Gada are sons of Vasudeva and Rohini. And when he talks about Lord Balram, he distinguishes him from the others by prefixing his name as Bhagwan. So Yudhishthir is of course aware of the special position of Krishna and Balram. So as we had discussed earlier, and this in 1328, that Lord Balram is an expansion of, is a direct expansion of Vaibhav Prakash, a direct expansion of Krishna, is Vishnu Tattva. So he's addressed as, he's also addressed as Sattvam Prabhu. So Sattvam Prabhu, so this is a quality that is unique to Krishna. So Sattvam Prabhu is one who is the protector of the devotees. Sattvam is devotees and Prabhu is the protector. So Krishna has the unique quality that he always protects his devotees. And Lord Balram, as the direct expansion of Krishna, also has this quality of being Sattvam Prabhu. So Prabhupada in the purport he writes, Shri Ram or Balram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. Baldev acts as the spiritual master of all devotees, and by his causeless mercy, the fallen souls are delivered. Shri Baldev appeared as Shri Nityanand Prabhu during the advent of Lord Chaitanya, and the great Lord Nityanand Prabhu exhibited his causeless mercy by delivering a pair of extremely fallen souls, namely Jagai and Madai. Therefore, it is particularly mentioned here that Balaram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. By his divine grace only one can approach the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, and thus Shri Balaram is the mercy incarnation of the Lord, manifested as a spiritual master, the savior of the pure devotees. Now it's interesting, Prabhupada uses the term the savior of the pure devotees. So really speaking, the pure devotees, they don't need any saving because they are already saved. But the phrase that Srila Prabhupada uses is factual, that the reason the pure devotees are saved because Lord Balram is there as their savior. So when a jiva becomes a pure devotee, then it's not that he becomes extra powerful or extra capable. He might become all that, but really speaking, the abhaydan that he gets is from Krishna. So that is why this phrase, even though it may look like it's a redundant phrase, savior of the pure devotees, but when it is applied in the context of Lord Balram, it is factual. Okay, so we will do the next verse, 1:14:30. Pradyumna sarva vrishninam sukhamasate maharataha gambhira rayo niruddha vardate bhagavanuta. How is Pradyumna, the great general of the Vrishni family? Is he happy? And is Aniruddha the plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead, faring well? So we see Yudhishthir coming down the seniority chain, and this is mostly by age, not so much by because we can see that he's mixing Vishnu Tattva with Jiva Tattva. Before he spoke about Lord Balram, he spoke about Vasudev and Ugrasen and Shurasen, who are obviously not Vishnu Tattva. So he's using the conventional, more or less, not strictly, but using the conventional way of approaching from the older to the younger. So now he's going to the next generation, that he's talking about Pradyumna. So Pradyumna is the eldest son of Krishna and Rukmani Devi. And Aniruddha, as we know, he's the eldest son of Pradyumna. And who is the eldest son of Aniruddha? Does anybody know? A very famous personality. I'll give you a hint that he established 5,000 temples of Krishna.
Vrishabhana.
Vajranabha.
Vajranabha.
So Vajranabha is the great grandson of Krishna, and Vajranabha later on He was the one who established the 5,000 temples under the instructions of Garga Muni. And the deities that he established in these temples were described by so when Vajranath was there, then there was other than these rishis who obviously live a long life, but there was only one person in his family who had direct darshan of Krishna. And then she was the one who described Krishna's face and bodily form and moods in great details. And based on that, Vajranath, he would give instructions for the deities to be carved. So that is why the deities established by Vajranath are considered to be special. And the person giving the instruction is Uttara. Uttara was the person who was there when almost everybody else had departed. So Prabhupada in the purport says, Pradyumna and Anirudh are also expansions of the personality of Godhead, and thus they are also Vishnu Tattva. At Dwarka, Lord Vasudev is engaged in his transcendental pastimes along with his plenary expansions, namely Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Anirudh. And therefore, each and every one of them can be addressed as a personality of Godhead, as is mentioned in the connection with Anirudh. Okay. So we'll do the next verse. Shushenascha Shambho Jamavati Sutaha Anyachakarshani Pravaraha Satputra Rishabhadaya. Are all the chieftain sons of Lord Krishna, such as Sushen, Charudeshna, Shamba the son of Jambavati, and Rishab, along with their sons, all doing well. So he mentions Sushen. Sushen is the son of Satyabhama, and Charudeshna is the younger brother of Pradyumna, the son of Rukmani. Samba is famous. He is the son of Jambavati. So he's famous because he was very brave, great warrior. Also, he was mischievous. He was the one who kidnapped the daughter of Duryodhana. And then after that, Lord Balram. So then they came for battle, and Lord Balram went as the peace messenger. And of course, sending Lord Balram as a peace messenger is probably not the best idea, because he himself has a short temper. So he tried to pacify the Kauravas for a while. When he saw that it was not going anywhere, he said, I'll solve the problem for you all. So he took out his plow and he started dragging Hastinapur into the river Yamuna. So that solved the problem, of course. Then they all surrendered to Lord Balram. But all that was created by Shamba. Samba is also the one who played the tricks on the sadhus who had come to Dwarka, which resulted in Marshal Leela. So he's famous in that way. So we also get a sense of Krishna's family. And Krishna had a large family in Dwarka. So we know that he had 16,108 wives. And then with each of the wives, he had 10 sons and one daughter. And each of the 10 sons had 10 sons. So in this way, there were literally hundreds and thousands of direct descendants of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport that they should not surprise anyone, because factually speaking, all the living entities are children of Krishna. So why only 161,000 children? Krishna's family is actually unlimited. Okay. verse 32 and 33. Tatha evanuchara shore Shrutadevo dhavadayaha Sunandananda shirshanya Ye chanye sattvatrishvaha Api swastya sate sarve Ramakrishna bhujashraya Api svaranti kushalam Asmakam badasordaha. Also, Shrutadev, Udhav and others, Nand and Sunand, and other leaders of liberated souls who were constant companions of the Lord are protected by Lord Balram and Krishna. Are they all doing well in their respective functions? Do they, who are all eternally bound in friendship with us, remember our welfare? So Yudhishthira is now remembering the other great personalities in Dwarka, and he's also, which is the main reason that these verses are there, that he's also remembering the qualifications. So he says that they are Sattvat. Sattvat, as we know, are devotees or liberated souls. Then he says they're Anuchara. Anuchara is they are eternal associates of Krishna. Krishna is called as Shara over here. Nand and Sunanda, as we know, are very close associates of Krishna as Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha. And Yudhishthira is also he's also meditating on the reciprocation. So he's saying Ramakrishna Bhujashraya, that they're constantly protected by the mighty arms of Krishna and Balram. There is no need for him to inquire about their welfare. Their welfare is already taken care of. Maharaj Yudhishthira himself is acknowledging this fact that one who is protected by Krishna, nothing can touch. But he's still inquiring about them. Because of this, because one is conventional formality, also because as he's inquiring, we are appreciating the qualities of these great devotees. And Prabhupada, more so than I have done, Prabhupada, in the purport, wherever possible, he writes a brief biography of these personalities. So once again, I would recommend that if you even if you know, it's a good idea to read it. So Prabhupada in the purport, he writes that thus those who give up the protection of the Lord and become so-called lords themselves out of spiritual ignorance come back again to this material world even after prolonged tapasya of the severest type. That is the verdict of the Vedic literature. So Srila Prabhupada is comparing the position of the Sattvats, who are Shara Anuchara, who are eternal associates of Krishna, and who are Bhujashraya, Krishna Bhujashraya, that they are protected by Ramakrishna Bhujashraya. They're not just Krishna, but Lord Balram. Both of them are fully protecting them. So that is the position of a devotee. And Prabhupada is saying the position of a non-devotee is that they've given up this Ramakrishna Bhujashraya. They're taking shelter of other places in the material world, but that shelter is false. And then he said, this is the verdict of the Vedic literature. Yudhishthira also says that while he is remembering them, he is saying that, do they remember us? Do they remember our welfare? So that is a mood of reciprocation that Yudhishthira is exhibiting over here. So Yudhishthira was the emperor of the world. Factually speaking, the kingdom of Dwarka was under the dominion of Maharaj Yudhishthira. because he was the emperor, and they were kings. One of the things that Maharaj Yudhishthira does, when we'll see that later on in this canto only, and when he gives up his own throne, so then he establishes Maharaj Parikshit as the emperor of the world, and he establishes Vajranabh as the king of Dwarka. So conventionally speaking, there's no reason for Maharaj Yudhishthira to inquire or seek protection. But the reason he is seeking protection is his humility as a devotee. That if a devotee is not protected by Ramakrishna Bhujashraya, then there is no protection for the devotee in the material world. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I think I'll stop over here because the next is a logical break. We have about 8 minutes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. This question is kind of overall when I'm hearing Bhagavatam or any of our Vedic discourses, like the question, like when somebody is speaking, like this inquiry, when they are inquiring, this like keep on going. Generally, we are used to a kind of inquiry. We will just ask a basic inquiry, hi, how are you, kind of, and then they will respond, and then we will again further ask about their relatives. And so is it a Vedic convention to ask everything upfront, or because, or what would be the reason, or it is because of Sanskrit is such a language you can all consolidate quickly and crisply to ask?
That could be a reason, but the reason that we think that is because of the Sanskrit translation, right? If you just look upon it, they're just 10 verses. Like each verse is 16 words in it. So to us, it seems a little bit more because, we look at each of the verse, and each verse we look at each of the line. Sometimes we look at the words, and we do so because they're spoken by Mahapurushas. So every word has a lot of import in it. But as a conversation, it's just a conversation, right? When we have conversations, we also tend to, at times, speak without realizing. We'll speak for a long time, then the other person will speak for a long time. Whether or not this is Vedic convention, not sure whether it is or not. But to some extent, it is just natural flow of conversation.
Yes, Prabhu, I could relate. Like in office work, or sometimes when one person speaks, we are just listening, and then after some time we speak.
Right.
So yeah, we are also doing it. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Prabhu, just one question. When we say that, when Krishna departed this world, all the, his dynasty left with him. But now we see that it was not exactly that. Some, his children was still here. That means not all the associate were left with him.
That is true. I think it's used in the sense to describe the fact that the predominant members of the, so like if out of 100 people, 98 people left, so then it is not untrue to qualify it as saying that the dynasty has gone. So there were wives of Krishna who survived. They were children of Krishna, that or grandchildren of Krishna that survived. But compared to the original Yaduvamshi, they were a very, very minuscule representative.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, that is true, Prabhu. Sometimes even we hear even material dynasties and Mughal Empire after Aurangzeb, it is pretty much we say that it is all gone. But still, those historians, they know like all the other people.
Yeah. In fact, I read an interview with a direct descendant of the Mughal dynasty. He's living in Delhi in one of the jugis over there. So they were talking about how the Mughal dynasty at one point was so opulent, and this particular person, they had a picture of him, and he was actually living in a small thatched hut there. But yeah, so even though the dynasty is considered to be destroyed, there are still remnants of it.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. And I remember hearing from someone also during one of the Srimad Bhagavatam that it was Krishna's desire too, that he didn't want anybody like left back. Like when he took the pastime, like everybody was gone, because then they would be like, saying that I am from Krishna's, lineage and all that, so he just didn't want even that to happen.
Yes. That verse will actually come later on. That actually describes this mood of Krishna. It either comes later on in this chapter or perhaps in the next chapter. But either in 14 or 15, that verse does appear.
Even I think in last class you explained the same thing, Prabhuji, like the Brahmana mentality is that son of Brahmana is Brahmana, similar thing, son of God is God, that kind of mentality.
Yeah, Prabhupada talks about in the purport that Krishna did not want to leave behind the dynasty with this kind of mentality, that we are sons of God, so we are God. And then the verse that Mataji was speaking about is also Krishna's concerns about the strength and valor of his descendants. So he'll say they're strong enough to overrun the entire earth if they want to. And I don't want them to create that. He said there are very few people who can oppose them. So, but he didn't want to create that. He didn't want to create that imbalance. So that's another reason why he wound up his dynasty. Another reason is that most of them were demigods. So they returned to their position after playing their roles. And the ones who were eternal associates of Krishna, they accompanied him back to the spiritual world.
It is so wondering that so many of spiritual world people, like eternally liberated souls, just 5,000 years back, they are all on the same earth planet, that too in India where we were born, we took birth. It's really.
And where Krishna was also there. Krishna Swayam Bhagwan was there. So 500 years ago.
So Prabhuji, even one other thing also I remember from Guru Maharaj's lecture was also that the pastimes are still happening. It is just that Prakat and Aprakat Leela, right? So it's not like, it's still happening, but it's just that we are not seeing, or it's not visible to our eyes. How do we understand that now compared to, now when we are discussing like this? So
that's a good question. So the Prakat Leela is generally applied to the dhams, which are considered to be eternal. So the Vrindavan dham that is there on the earth planet is in the earth but not off the earth. So then how do we understand that Vrindavan is an eternal dham, which means that Krishna is eternally conducting his pastimes there, but we are not able to see it. So that's when this distinction between prakrit and aprakrit comes, that in the very same Vrindavan Dham, where the Lokik, the Bhautik Vrindavan Dham is, Krishna's pastimes are still happening there, but they're covered by the curtain of Maya. So these so these occurrences of Prakrit and Aprakrit are specifically mentioned in the context of the eternal dhams that manifest.
And the same applies to Dwarka too, Dwarka, Mathura and all.
Yeah, so when Krishna came, then these dhams came along with him.
Mm-hmm.
So Vrindavan, Mathura and Dwarka Dham came along with him. And they are Prabhupada, he uses different analogies to explain that. Sometimes he says that one should understand that they're like embassies. Like countries have embassies in foreign countries, and those embassies are considered to be non-different from the country. Like if there's an Indian embassy in the US, then the Indian embassy is considered to be a part of India, even though it's in the US. So that's how he would describe those dhams, that even the dhams are here on earth, but they are representatives of the spiritual world. So they're non-different from the spiritual world. But the reason we can't see it is because of the curtain of Maya. And then he would say the curtain of Maya can be lifted also. He gives the example of pure devotees like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, who were actually chanting and actually witnessing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. That's because they transcended into the Aprakrit Leela. So dhams that are bona fide, and dhams that are bona fide have this special benediction, which is one reason why people go to the dhams also, is that if they're spiritually purified enough, then the curtain of Maya can lift momentarily for them to give glimpses into what's happening. Specifically, we see this in the pastime, the 6 Goswamis, that once in a while the curtain of Maya would lift, like Sham Sundar. Was it Shama Sundar? Shamananda, sorry. Like Shamananda, he momentarily saw the pastimes of Srimati Radharani. He didn't even see the pastimes, but he saw the curtain lifted enough for him to see the ornament of Srimati Radharani, which of course he kept. And the ornament was then marked on his forehead, which became the golden tilak. That's how he got the name. So yes, Mataji, I'm rambling a little bit, but the point you made is absolutely correct.
And Prabhuji, this applies to all the holy dhams, Prabhuji, like Udupi, Puri, Tirupati, and all this them.
It does. As the point is, as long as the dham is a bona fide. So the ones you're mentioning are obviously bona fide, but that's the qualification, that it has to be a bona fide dham. Okay, so we'll stop over here. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next Monday. Vanchakalpatarubhayaschit kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nithai Gaur Premanand Hari Hari.